It is derived from Arakadu. Arhat. I have been in the area. Where was it? Somewhere. No. It's more on this side. Where the name of today is still 7 banyans and 3 lakes. There is no lake. There is nothing. There are not a single banyan. And still the people will call it like this. So they brought a botanist, and the botanist started to explore the wealth, and they found there is rosewood and there is ebony, there's black wood. So they started to cut all the forests, and they needed a lot of trees to build Pondicherry. So that brought about the destruction of the forests. Then rosewood, ebony, and teak are very precious, so they exported it. They had all these boats shipping out wood continuously. Then at one time the British came and they defeated the French. And when the British came to Pondicherry, they stole, of course, everything that they could find. And but afterwards the French paid some money, they got it back. So they had to rebuild Pondicherry. They went to the Nawab, bought another piece of land, and cut all the trees and started to rebuild Pondicherry. Then the British came, destroyed it again, and then the French paid some money to the British, they got it again. And like this, 3 times it was destroyed, and 3 times they had to rebuild it. That was the beginning of this huge destruction. Yeah. Now, Auroville started in 68, and many of the landowners were ready to sell their land. They were waiting for something to sell the land because they couldn't do anything. And so Auroville here has 100 acres, Savannah Forest is 60, 70
acres.
And then there are other, Arenia is 60 acres. And there's another community, what is called there, another place. So Auroville was able to, and Lake Estate Farm has 300 acres from the ashram. So there was a lot of land that could be easily, cheaply, for a few hundred rupees, I think 600 rupees per acre or something, they could purchase the land. Then it was left alone.
So this was which year? 1984.
This picture was taken in 1984. Yeah. In 1984 was when Indira Gandhi came and started this One Family, One Tree project, that everybody could submit a project to the Department of Environment to plant trees. So in Auroville they made a group also, and we had to prepare all the information, the landowner things, and starting to work of regeneration in the bioregion. So that was decided we started with 1883, but in 84 actually the whole thing started. So the first thing what you would do, suppose you have to, of course nobody would think of growing lady's finger or brinjals in this land. Everybody think about forest. So what is the first thing you would do if you want to put forest there?
Start planting trees.
If you plant trees, it will depend on rain. But in this desert, what will happen if it rains? It will just run off. It runs off. It runs off. So you have to make swales. You have to make structures. When the water comes, it is blocked and it cannot run off. It will penetrate into the soil. Now, this is one way. There are other methods. It depends on your, trench, on your finances, because you have to employ people. And here Auroville employed 100 people. In this area alone, there were 100 people working. Everything was by hand. There was no GCB or machine. But you can also make a small pit. Suppose I dig a pit this size and this deep, and put the earth here, and the water comes, it will go in the pit.
So that it will store
and it will penetrate. I can make 2 pits a day, and so suppose I was all alone in St. Pierre. Every day I go and make 2 pits, put the earth in a crescent bund, and when it rains, the water will go inside. And little by little, that hole will fill up, some rubble will come, something, and then I can plant a tree there. So, it's not that there is only one way to reclaim, but you have to do something about the water first.
Correct.
The water is important. How you do that? According to your means. That's all. Anyway, we had the means, so we got a project from the Department of Environment. So we employed all the people and started to making the swales and making dams in the gullies, and the water situation got solved. Then you plant trees. Question is, what type of trees you will plant?
What was the nature of that place? We need to find out. Like,
Yeah, that's exactly what we did. So people went to the French Institute because the botanist has written many things down, sometimes very funny names, botanical names. For instance, Watakaka volubilis. I mean, you know what that means. Wata is in local Tamil, it is called duck. Huh? And kaka, you know what it is. Yeah, Watakaka volubilis. So they must have asked, how do you call this in Tamil? And the guy would have just told a joke or something. But Ada Tode Vazika, that is Tamil, no?
Yeah.
That's what the goat will not touch.
Yes.
There are other examples, for instance, Holy Kakaboom. Holy Kakaboom. I mean, this is not a botanical name, you know. The other ones, I cannot remember. So, but they had all, not all, but they had already a good view of what was grown here.
But you already mentioned ebony and red gold.
Yeah, because they have,
those things.
So, Auroville went to the French Institute, and the person there was very, very, very helpful and gave all the information we need. So we knew more or less what was grown here. But if you want to plant a tree, what is the first necessity?
Water.
Water we have already done. Seeds.
Seeds, yeah.
You need the seeds to start something.
Yeah, plants.
So where are the seeds? Where are the seeds? Well, we have still sacred places, temple groves, and haunted places. That still exist today. Even today, there are some. So it was a question of finding out where are such few trees around this temple. In Irumbai, there are some. Then that small thing there, what is it called again? On the way to Marakanam, there is a small forest there of 7 acres.
Is it, okay, I don't know the name.
Yeah, there's a native around the temple. There's a sacred grove, and it was bigger when we came, but now it's only 7 acres and it is full of plastic. But it's still, you can find a lot of trees there, and here and there, you know, and there are places.
So that go collect from there
and so people went all with cycles to all the places, and they found in Sidrapet a small grove of sandalwood. Yeah. From long time ago, the sandalwood is still there. As soon as it is like that, it gets cut.
Yeah.
You will not find a single big tree there.
People want to make money,
So, like this, little by little, in 84, and later we had about 35 or 45 different tree species, which were raised in huge nurseries and then planted out on this. Now think what would have happened if you plant trees in this. Oh, look for another picture. What would have happened about the trees?
What would have happened?
If you plant a tree.
Has to be taken care.
Yeah, well, I will show you. This is a picture. It is not. I cannot say if it is there or here, but it doesn't matter. It is
Yeah,
that's okay.
in the same area. From this picture, there are different things you can notice.
Yeah.
One is this light green.
Light green and
And-
able to see the swales like.
Yeah, that is there. And whitish color and dark green.
Yes.
There are about three things I can see. So there is a question of story. One person always said, if you want to plant trees here, you must know that people are cooking with firewood. And there are no trees because people cook with firewood, and a lady has to spend 3-4 hours a day to collect enough branches to cook. So you plant, well, if you turn your head, that tree will go. Isn't it? It's normal. So you have to count with this. And so he said there is a famous tree in Australia which is in fashion. We have to try to get seeds from this tree and plant it out, and this tree will give us timber. Because we have to build a city, and the city can't have without windows and doors. So we need wood to make frame.
Exactly.
So that tree will grow very fast. We will take the tree and all the branches give to the people, and they can use it for firewood, and there will be no problem. Okay. So he wrote to Australia, got the seeds, but then is where divine providence comes in between. So the guy in Australia, he got a demand for giving this tree of this nice seeds of this nice tree, which would grow very fast. Maybe he was drunk or something happened, and he put some other seeds in that packet. And so when we started, I remember myself, I started to plant this tree, thinking already wank, but it was not a tree. It was a shrub. And the shrub came from the Australian desert. And Australia looks exactly like this. Southwest of Australia is desert, red, stony desert. Exactly like this. So there we started to plant out, and that thing started to grow like mad. And in the first year, sometimes they already make seeds. And the seeds, they come from, this is desert valley, and the seeds fall, and the rain comes, boof, they start to germinate. And I don't have the pictures here, but I have pictures on slide. You see the whole areas, this tree just spreads everywhere. And this tree is low moisture. I can show you. So the people started to cut this tree. It never grows big, right? So you don't have to split it. You cut a branch, you can easily dry it. Very short, it becomes dry, and you use it for fire. It's excellent firewood. So that allowed other trees to come up. In the long run, not immediately, because it even takes for them 3 to 5 years to produce all this. But ultimately, I have seen it in the Perm. The people left all other trees alone and cut only this. And in the Permbok, which is not fenced, nobody looked after it, that was a jungle. There were paths you couldn't pass. It was completely overgrown. And now, even now, you can go there, it is very difficult to go. This is a jungle. But then, of course, like here, they put an electric line, and the bulldozer comes and clears everything. So there were two things, was this Australian acacia, and then this light green is another Australian acacia that the forest department had brought into India 40-50 years before. And these two trees can grow in this area. But all the trees, native trees that we planted, most of them are not there. They died. Because a forest tree grows on a forest soil, not in a desert. Desert trees can grow in deserts, but not forest trees. So it was not very successful. Some remained, like the Declercq tree, this Santalum vendae, which actually needs pebbles to grow. It needs silica soil to grow. And so there were 5 trees, there were a few work trees, but all the rest here, there were nothing. And yesterday with Deepika we saw a picture, nothing. Yeah, that's amazing. Now you can't go there.
But so
Anyway.
originally you said it was totally full of forest.
Yeah, that
And
was
how did it become pebble and rocky?
because all the soil washed away. That washes off.
How did it wash away?
Because it's a slope, no?
Slope.
Here is the lake, Usteri Lake.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the rain and
Yeah.
Mm.
I have seen myself in where I was planting trees on the side of the water. Right? We were planting, and then we had in '78. It was in '78. We had a huge rain. Huge rain. It was 38 centimeters per day, and in 1 hour we got 10 centimeters. In 1 hour, 10 centimeters. That is 1/6 of what falls in France in a year. And you could not see more than like 50 meters. It was amazing. So after the rains, when I went to see my tree, 4 centimeters of soil on the side of the water is gone. And the water was full, bursting full with water, and sheep and goat were washing away to the sea. That was amazing.
Yeah.
4 years ago or 5 years ago, we had heavy rains.
Yes, 2015.
Yeah.
Yeah, when Chennai, the planes
Yeah.
were floating in the water.
Yeah.
The enormous amount of erosion that takes place in this.
So because of those kind of powerful rains, the rocky and
The good
pebbles
soil,
were there, and the soil
good
went
soil
into the water.
was, and the subsoil, in this case pebbles and rocks, came to the surface. And these pebbles are there because 20 million years ago there was a river. Came from Jinji, from the mountains.
Okay.
And so the rocks fall and are carried by the water and become pebbles. I will show you. So we started the work, Deepika and myself, 10 years later. Then that is 10 years after. This
Okay.
picture was taken in '94 when we started.
Oh.
But it is not from here. Again, it is from there. But okay. I have tried so many times to find out where it is, but I can't. I just can't find it. Well, it would be possible if you maybe study it very deeply, that you could identify some things here and something
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
So that's okay.
Okay, so in '94 we started. We wanted to build forest here. It's 8 acres and a garden there. And the problem is we have decided not to bring things from outside. No hired labor, no extra inputs. So and this is from here. This is in. These pictures are taken here. These pictures are taken here. So when I saw yesterday, because Deepika was looking at pictures, plenty of pictures from here that you can't imagine anymore. And this is the Australian acacia. You see it can grow in the stones. And it is from seeds that have fallen. That is not planted. You see. Seeds that have fallen. And this is the debris from the leaves. Right? So we call this a pioneer. Something that starts a process. So we collected the seeds and we throw seeds of this acacia here, and that started to grow and produce a lot of leaves, and it starts a process. Like if you have to push the bus, if the bus is you push in the beginning, it's very difficult, but once it starts rolling, it becomes easy. That is the function of the pioneer. Now it will be difficult to find a pine. I will show you some that are still there. So we decided we will not bring things from outside. No soil, no manure from outside. Because if we bring soil from outside, that means we destroy one place to repair this one.
Exactly.
And in India we have 93 million hectares of wastelands.
93 million.
Yeah, that's 1/6 of the country's surface. According to the Department of Environment, it is unfit for biotic production or something like that. So if you want to show an example, what Auroville is supposed to do, but you can't say bring soil. Okay, many people have done that, by the way, but we couldn't do that. And we cannot buy manure from the village because the farmer needs it for his own field. People have done that also, and then the farmer has money to buy 2-in-1 cassette recorder or something, or a radio, which is very useful in his agriculture. And there were a lot of strange things have happened in all this way. but we didn't want to do that. Also, Deepika has found out that traditionally it was forbidden by the village group, village elders, to move manure out of the village. And if somebody did that, he would be fined very heavily. There were plenty of rules. I have also discovered that in the cropping season, if cows were grazing the field, that cow would be, you could bring it to, how do they call these places? I've forgotten the name. I have been to that place. Yeah, where you could bring the cow and the cow will be looked after, and you have to pay a heavy fine to get your cow back. Yeah, and that was the tradition. But when I went there, this whole place was in ruin already. It was of course not used since a long time, but it had existed. So that was all interesting things. I came in '75, and once I went to see villagers working on the field, because I come from a rural area where I am used to see the crops that are growing there. I have worked on the fields and as a kid. And so I see people there working, and I go to see them, trying to see what exactly are they doing. And then one old lady come to me, start shouting at me like anything and pushing me. I can't understand it. I don't know why or anything. I didn't do anything wrong. I just wanted to see what you were doing. But finally, I understood. I had walked with my chapels on Bruma Devi, on the Mother Earth. So I had to put my chapels there and then walk.
Chapel.
That was an offense, a very big offense, right? Nobody of the villages actually had chapels at that time, except the school teacher or somebody like that. But there were no chapels.
Yeah, I know. Those days.
And all the farmers had loincloths. There was no necessity for banyan or shorts. They had the best clothing, most adapt to the climate. You know? And once, I don't remember which year, a friend of mine went in his slip to the water point in the village, and he was fined. He was fined. It's not forbidden. I've seen in Pondicherry and Nehru Street, porters were in loincloth. Yeah. People were walking in loincloth. So there was a huge change happened in a very short time. Anyway, we'll go around and I'll show you something. Now, interesting, even when we were taking down the old structure here, some of there are old people in the village, and they are completely disillusioned with the young people. They don't obey any village rules anymore. They don't listen to what the elders say, which is not always bad also. But this fella could